Hi guys! Today's video is sponsored by Audible. At Audible, you can find the largest selection of audiobooks, podcasts, and other spoken word entertainment. They have it all. They have bestsellers, new releases, they have memoirs, and language books, just about anything you could ask for. As an Audible member, you get 1 credit every month to choose from their selection, and then you get to keep that title in your library forever. Audible also just launched their newest plan, Audible Plus, which gives you access to their entire Plus catalog, which has thousands of audiobooks, original entertainment, and ad-free versions of your favorite shows. All of this is included in your Plus membership to use whenever you want. You can even download it offline. Audible is super easy to use, and the app is free to download. It also does this really cool thing where if you're listening on one app on your phone, it'll save your spot where you're reading or listening, and you can start right back where you left off on your laptop or any other device with the app. I'm currently listening to Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and I'm really excited about this audiobook because I loved The Martian by him, and I would love to read another sci-fi by him. So if you're interested in reading along with me, you can head to audible.com/lavender or text Lavender to 500-500 to start your 30-day free trial. I'm really in love with Audible because I don't always have the time to be reading a physical book, even though I do love doing that. It's perfect for my commute and when I go on walks or even when I clean the house. So once again, if you want to check out Audible, go to audible.com/lavender or text Lavender to 500-500 to start your 30-day free trial. Okay guys, let's get right to the video. Hi guys. Hello. I'm Sarah Lavender, if you are new here, and I make ASMR videos. So in this video, I thought I would do a bunch of book sounds. So that includes tapping on books, page turning, a little bit of reading from the books, a little bit of talking about the books, and just like other assorted book triggers. I really want to do a librarian roleplay someday, but I'm really struggling finding that stamper. You know what I'm talking about? When you go to a library and they stamp the inside of the book with the date. I don't even know if they do that anymore. Like maybe it's all digital. It's been a while since I went to a library, like an in-person library. But in other news, it is raining really hard outside right now. So if you can hear any dripping or thunder, just pretend that we're all cozy in a library or something and talking about books. Okay. this book is a Spanish book, La Ciudad y los Perros, by Mario Vargas Llosa. And it is a famous book. This author is famous. And I am actually not good enough at Spanish yet to be able to read an entire literary novel in Spanish, but someday we will get there. Have you noticed that I really like this trigger right now? I feel like when I discover a trigger that an ASMR artist who I watch, if they do it, I tend to kind of like imitate it a lot in my following videos. This too. Okay, let's do some book sounds. Don't worry, this is the only Spanish book that I have. To all my English speakers out there. And I actually don't have too much to say about this one because I am not reading it. But I do know that it's about war. Let's see. La ciudad y los perros no es solo un ataque contra la crueldad ejercida un grupo de jóvenes alumnos. Okay, so it's about a military school, and the author's judgment of it. I hate creasing the spine of a book when I get a new paperback. But once that first crease is in the spine, after that, the book feels very loved. And then the more that I add, the less upset that I get. So you can tell that this one is pretty new. For those of you who are bilingual, do you think that you have a language that you prefer to read in? Or do you try to read in both languages? I am part of a subreddit on Reddit about writing. And it's really interesting because some bilingual people will be like, I want to write a book in my mother tongue, but I feel like I'm better at that language, but I feel the need to write a book in English because there's a larger market for it, and that would be such a difficult decision. You know, if you want to get published, like, to write something better in your own language, or to write something more accessible in a language used by more people on the planet. That would be a tough choice. Okay, next book. So this is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. And I have a funny story with this book. I recently did a video where I am taking care of you when you're not feeling well. It's a role play. And in the role play, or at the end of it, I decide to read the first few pages of a book to help you fall asleep. Anyways, I chose this book without having actually read the first few pages. And if anybody has read this book before, they know that the first few pages are not PG, and they're really, really, really sad and like depressing and just describing a horrible situation. And that's the first 2 paragraphs of the entire book. And so in this role play that I filmed, I was trying to read a bedtime story essentially, and so like I pick up the book and I start reading, and in my bloopers you can see my face just like start to fall, and I'm like, I can't use this book to read to somebody. Like, it's got curse words and stuff, so I was like, well, let me scrap the past 8 minutes of this video and pick a different book to read. But that was my fault, because I thought books don't normally start with a really intense, sad opener. And I would read it to you now, but I don't want to spoil it. But this book is a lot darker than I was originally thinking. But it's very famous. I'm sure you've heard of it. There's a famous movie, and it's really a staple in African American literature. But yes, it is about 2 sisters. One who is a missionary in Africa, and the other is a child wife living in the South. And I'm pretty sure the scene opened up with the child wife, so it's pretty dark. But I'm really excited because I think it may be similar to Their Eyes Were Watching God, which was an incredible read. It was so poetic, and it takes place in a similar time period, just like 1800s US. Don't quote me on that. But it tells the story of an impoverished black woman, and this also, I'm sure, tells a similar story, at least one of the sisters. And it's really cool because the book is in a voice, like it's in the voice of the character. Let me read an example. Let me make sure I don't read a scary part again. Mr. Blank come finally one day looking all drug out. The woman he had helping him done quit. His mammy done said no more. Do you see? It has a very strong voice, and I don't often, that's not true. I sometimes struggle with books where the voice is really strong and there's a lot of vernacular that I don't understand, especially if it's an old-timey book. Something similar is Flowers for Algernon. So he's mentally disabled in the beginning of the book, and he writes and speaks in his own voice, and it's kind of hard to understand and honestly a little bit cheesy, but I get used to it. I start out not liking it, and then I kind of get into it, and so I think that's what's going to happen with this book. Okay, my neighbor's AC just turned on, but just think of it as very calming background noise, white noise. say, "I love you, Miss Sally," and then she haul off and kiss me on the mouth. She say she likes surprise. I kiss her back, say, too. Us kiss and kiss till us can't hardly kiss no more. I'm actually not the biggest fan of this cover. Seems a little dated. But I did bring along a hardcover book, so. And I have showed this in a video prior. I actually haven't read it yet, but I thought a hardcover book would be really nice for sounds. This is the second book that I've purchased with this really cute cover as part of a set, and I get comments asking who makes it, and it is Puffin Books. Let's read a little bit, shall we? It's time Anne was in to do her sewing, says Maria, glancing at the clock and then looking out into the yellow August afternoon where everything drowsed in the heat. She stayed playing with Diana more than half an hour. More I gave her leave to. And now she's perched out there on the woodpile talking to Matthew, 19 to the dozen, when she knows perfectly well that she ought to be at her work. And of course he's listening to her like a perfect ninny. I never saw such an infatuated man. The more she talks and the odder the things she says, the more he's delighted, evidently. Anne Shirley, you come right in here this minute, do you hear me? The Delights of Anticipation, Chapter 13. It's got a really cute, simple design here. This is Anne, and this book is by L.M. Montgomery. And it's got this really pretty thing right here. And then let's do a little bit of tracing. Let's see. That was like testing my cursive capabilities. I'm actually very bad at cursive. It's kind of becoming like a lost art. I'm definitely adding like more ASMR triggers in this video than my normal book videos. And like I said, it's kind of has to do with the videos that I'm watching at the moment. And I really like having a bunch of different triggers in one video. love the smell of books. That's a very common sentiment, but it's so nice. Alright, let's see what other books I brought along. Here is The Brothers Karamazov. And look, and look, and look, and look, it's gigantic. Let's see how many pages it is. If you were going to guess how many pages were in this, what would you guess? Here we go. Oh, that's too small. 1,045 pages, give or take. That's a long book. And it was, of course, written by Fyodor Dostoevsky. He's a famous author, and yet I still don't remember how to pronounce his name. That's really embarrassing, but whatever. So this is a story about brothers or sons involved in a alleged patricide. And it's very philosophical. It goes on long tangents about the inner workings of each character's mind. It has a lot of psychology and things like that in it. But once again, it is a very famous book. Russian literature has its own flair to it. Like, a lot of the times there will be a character who has a name, and then like the Russian nickname, and then like the last name, and then you start throwing in like 30 characters, and you're just losing your mind trying to remember who is who. Which reminds me a little bit of like Game of Thrones. I remember when I read the first Game of Thrones book, or for purists out there, the first A Song of Ice and Fire book, which is Game of Thrones. But the author has his character named Ned, but Ned is short for Eddard. Not Ed, Ned. And so when I was reading it, I was like, who is Ned? Who is Eddard? So this reminds me of that. Moving on. Here is another beast of a book. The Man Who Loved Dogs by Leonardo Padura. And I believe he is Cuban. And it is about, well, let me read it. In The Man Who Loved Dogs, Leonardo Padura brings a noir sensibility to one of the most fascinating and complex political narratives of the past 100 years. The Assassination of Leon Trotsky by Ramon Mercader. You know, I believe that Leon Trotsky has a house in Mexico City, and I think it was where he was assassinated. Don't quote me on that. But I love books that kind of put a novel spin on historical events. I think it's still considered fiction, but it's based on real events. The man who loved dogs. And wow, talk about a intense read. that afternoon, Jacques Mornard felt as never before the viscous density of the days of passivity. Ooh, that's pretty poetic. It was as if he had a lottery ticket in his hands, whose drawing was delayed, and with it his future. He lacked the concentration to read anything besides newspapers. His character kept him far from cantinas and brothels, and he opted for sleeping the greatest quantity of hours possible. So I'm excited about this book. I haven't read it yet, but I'm also a little bit intimidated by it. Also, if you guys could let me know, honestly, how you feel about mixing whisper and soft-spoken. If the overwhelming response is you do not like whispers in your soft-spoken videos, I will stop doing that. I know if it's done well, I like it a lot, so. I'm having a surprisingly hard time finding English books in Mexico City, which should not be surprising, but it is to me. So even though I had never heard of this book, I saw it at a store and it's in English, and I was like looking on Goodreads to see if it has good reviews, and it does. Okay guys, that is it for today. I know I didn't talk all that much about books, at least the plots, but I wanted this video to be more like the actual sounds of them and things like that. I'm actually struggling a little to think of an idea for my next book video. I'm either going to do my favorite young adult books or some other kind of genre, maybe romance or something, but all of my books are back in the States. I could only bring a few with me when I moved here, and so the next time I end up going to the States, I will gather all of my books from a certain genre and then make a video about them. So until next time, until next time, thank you so much for watching my videos. I just want to add, transitioning into a new country has been really hard, but